Hi my friends, I hope you are well. Look at your reading part and page 34 and you can open with your student's book. Look at the names and answer the questions. Look at here. Apple Martin, Brooklyn Beckham, Moon Unit Zappa. Do you know anything about these eight people? Do you know? Think of one thing that they have in common. What do you know? They all have famous parents. For example, they all have famous parents, we can say. Yes, they all have famous parents and strange names, we can say. Let's look at here. Were these names allowed or not allowed by the government? Bu isimler çocuklara konmak için izin verilir mi, verilmez mi? Siz ne düşünüyorsunuz arkadaşlar bu konuda? Bunu yalnız paragrafı okuduktan sonra yapalım bence. Çünkü paragrafta bunların cevabı var. Okay? Yes. Crazy names. Listen carefully and you can follow me, okay? Crazy names. Names for your children. It's always a big question for parents. Should we give them an ordinary names or we want something a bit different? We always hear about the big names in the world of cinema, music or sport who prefer something that isn't ordinary. And so they give their kids name like Apple or Brooklyn or Moon Unit. Other people like to use brand names for their children. So there are nearly quite a few people called Armani or Diesel running around in school playgrounds. So, can you call your child anything you want? Well, it depends where you live. In New Zealand, for example, you can't call your child Kalula does the Kula from Hawaii, and you can't call your twins fish and chips. And yes, parents in New Zealand really have tried to give their kids these names. It's hard to believe, but you can call a child number 6 bus 16 bus shelter. Generally, certain names aren't allowed because, as a New Zealand judge said in one case, a name mustn't make a fool of a child. Fool of the child. In Sweden, if you want to name Gokul for your kid, then go ahead, no problem. But you had better not try to call your children Ikea or Q, because the government won't let you. Things are even more difficult in Denmark. There is an official list of about 700 approved names, and parents need special permission to use a name that isn't on it. Pluto and Monkey didn't get on it. Of course, when kids grow up, they can decide to change their name, and then it's a different game altogether. If a woman footballer wants to call herself Michael Jackson, which is what Brazilian player Marilia dos Santos decided to do, then there is nothing to stop her. She made a name for herself as one of the best female footballers in the world. And, of course, singers do it all the time. Siobhan, Corey Carter, and Stephanie Germanetti, for example, might not be household names today if they hadn't decided to use the strange name J. and Lady Gaga. J. That and Lady Gaga. Some people, however, change their name from something unusual to something ordinary in order to blend in. David Carradine named his son Free because he wanted him to feel free to do anything, even to change his name, which he did to Tom. Yes, and you can answer some questions about this paragraph. Look at here. For example, this one. Yes. Were these names allowed or not allowed by the government? First of all, Talula does the hula from Hawaii? No, of course. Fish and chips? No. Number 16 bus shelter? Yes. Google? Yes. IKEA? No. Q? No. Pluto? No. Monkey? No. Yes. You can write on your book. And now we can look here. For example, which people which people's unusual names do we often hear about? The first question, we often hear about the unusual names that famous people give their children. You can write for the first question. We often hear about the unusual names that famous people give their children. Second, what reason did a New Zealand judge give for not allowing some names? Why? The New Zealand judge didn't allow some names because they made the child look silly. 3. What did Maria dos Santos decide to do? What? Maria dos Santos decided to call herself Michael Jackson. What did she become well known for? She became famous for being one of the best female footballers in the world. 5. Why did David Carradine give his son an unusual name? Why? Because David Carradine called his son Free because he wanted him to feel free to do anything, even to change his name, and he changed his name to Tom. Yes. We can go on the next page. Look at here, grammar parts, can't or mustn't. First one, yes. Can I ask you something? No. You can't call your children's fish and chips. You can call a child number 16 bus shelter. A name mustn't make a fool of the child. Yes. We can go on. Look at here. I mustn't talk too loudly. We use must, mustn't, and with these verbs. I mustn't be late. I mustn't miss the goal. You mustn't run. Yes. And now we can go on. Look at here. Use modal verbs and use the pronouncing. Diving isn't allowed. How can we use this? Yes, you can't dive here. Not allowed. You can't dive here. First one, it isn't necessary for us to wear uniforms. We don't have to wear uniforms. We don't have to wear uniforms. 2, it's a good idea to buy any phone. You should buy any phone, not to. It's wrong. You should buy any phone. 3, it's okay for you to use my laptop. You can use my laptop. I give permission to you. 4, it's necessary for them to work harder. They must to work harder. They must work harder, not to. To is wrong. Are we allowed to play here? Can you play here? And you can change these parts. Look at here. Read and match the underlying expressions with the definitions. For example, Tony Hawk is a big name in skateboarding. Which one is the meaning with the big name? Yes, a person who is important or famous in their position. He is upset because some of the other kids call him names. Call him names. Which one? Yes, use rude names about or to a person. JY isn't his real name. It's his stage name. Yes, A name that a person, usually an actor or a singer, use in their profession. Or fish, meat, vegetable, fruit, you name it. I eat it, usually. You name it. Yes. Anything you say. Look, it's what is his name? What is her name? Yes, someone whose name I can't remember. We want to get married, but we haven't named the date yet. Yes, decide the date of an event, often a wedding. I know you don't want to do exams, but it's the name of the game for university entry. So the most important part of something. 8. He made a name for himself as a great actor. Yes. Become known or respected by many people, we can say. And you can write on your book. And we can go on with this part. Read and complete. She has been to Europe, Asia, and Australia. You name it. She has been there. Second, hard work is the name, the game of if you want to well in your exam. 3. My uncle's doctor. My uncle is a doctor. He is a big name in the field of cancer research. 4. Some of her classmates call her names. It's horrible for her. You are engaged? That's wonderful. When are you going to name the day? Get married. Oh, look, there is. What is his name? You know that boy who lives in the street. She made a name for herself on a reality show and became a famous singer. 8. Bruno Mars is the stage name of Vivian Hernandez. Yes. And I think it's enough for this lesson. See you in the next lesson. Bye bye.